But we've now been living with it virtually for a year now. We talked earlier before we started recording about
it's sort of in the middle of sort of fictional autobiography.
It's the list nobody thought Mick Jagger would ever reveal. But when he finally named the 5 rock women who truly left a mark on him, jaws dropped. These aren't just icons, they're rumored to have changed how he performed forever. Stay tuned and hit subscribe for more untold music stories. It started in the most unexpected way. A casual conversation, a familiar question, one Mick Jagger had heard more times than he could count. But this time, something shifted. No rehearsed answers, no typical names. Instead, he paused, leaned back, and let the silence hang. Then he spoke. 5 names, all women, all unforgettable. These weren't just voices he admired. These were forces that had left an imprint on him. Personally, artistically, spiritually. They didn't just influence his style. They changed how he viewed power, performance, and presence. And the first name? It wasn't just a singer, it was a storm. Janis Joplin, the untamed force. The first woman on his list was someone who didn't just sing songs, she tore them open. Janis Joplin didn't need a stage. She became the stage. Jagger saw her perform in 1969 at Madison Square Garden. The moment she stepped out, barefoot, bottle in hand, hair untamed, the room transformed. It wasn't about showmanship, it was energy. Wild, emotional, and unfiltered. As she launched into Piece of My Heart, the entire arena froze. Even Keith Richards, who rarely blinked, was locked in place. Her voice was rough and unpredictable, but that was the magic. She didn't deliver polished notes, she delivered raw emotion. Every scream, every breath, every pause, it all came from a place of realness that couldn't be rehearsed. What stunned Jagger most wasn't how she performed. It was that she didn't seem to perform at all. She was just being. And that honesty hit him harder than any guitar riff ever could. Stevie Nicks. And if Janis was fire, Stevie Nicks was smoke. Fleetwood Mac was everywhere in the late 70s. But it wasn't the band that captivated Mick, it was her. The way she moved. The way her voice wrapped around a lyric like a whispered secret. They toured together, danced in dimly lit hotel bars. Rumors followed them like shadows. But all of that faded when she stepped up to a microphone. Her voice wasn't loud, but it didn't need to be. It was haunting, gentle, the kind of sound that drew you in slowly until you forgot everything else. Jagger once said that when she sang Gold Dust Woman, it felt like a spell had been cast. He didn't just listen, he surrendered. She didn't force emotion, she invited it in. Where others used power to demand attention, Stevie used restraint. And somehow, that quiet control was even louder. Tina Turner. Now, if Stevie drew you in slowly, Tina Turner grabbed you by the soul and didn't let go. Tina didn't enter a room. She took it. When she moved, it wasn't a dance, it was a declaration. When she sang, every note came with thunder beneath it. In 1985, Mick and Tina shared the stage for State of Shock. It should have been a duet, but from the moment she stepped out, it was her show. She didn't compete, she conquered. Every stomp on stage felt like it cracked the floor open. Her voice didn't shake, it shook. And yet, everything was precise. Her chaos was calculated, her movements were like choreography written in fire. Afterward, Jagger admitted she nearly outshined him completely, but he didn't say it with bitterness. He said it with awe. She didn't need special effects or tricks. She was the spectacle. Her presence alone could silence a crowd, and her voice could wake them right back up. Chrissie Hynde. And then came a choice that caught many off guard. Chrissie Hynde. At first glance, she didn't seem like someone who'd make such a list. She wasn't larger than life. She didn't storm onto stages with flashing lights and dramatic flair, but that's exactly why she stood out. Chrissie didn't need volume to make herself heard. Her strength was quiet, controlled, calculated. Jagger first crossed paths with her during a turbulent time in rock. The late 70s was a decade of extremes. Either you were tearing everything down or desperately trying to build something new. And in the middle of that chaos, there was Chrissie, cool as ever, walking her own line. She had this magnetic presence, not because she asked for attention, but because she simply didn't care if she got it. And that kind of indifference, that's power. Her voice had an edge, sure, but it also had grace. She could sound tough without being harsh, seductive without being obvious. Her lyrics didn't try to win you over. They challenged you to keep up. And her tone, it was smooth steel. When she sang Brass in Pocket, it wasn't a love song. It was a warning. a declaration. She wasn't asking anyone to notice her. She was saying they would, whether they wanted to or not. Offstage, she was just as sharp. Conversations with her weren't small talk, they were duels. Mick found himself leaning in, listening more than speaking. She was quick-witted, dry, and always one step ahead. It wasn't just her talent that struck him, it was her restraint. Her choice not to play into the expectations that others fell into. She didn't scream for validation, she let her presence do the talking. To Jagger, who built an entire persona around energy and spectacle, Chrissy represented something different, something equally powerful. She was the proof that confidence doesn't always have to come in noise. Sometimes the strongest voice in the room is the one that speaks last and softest. She didn't demand the stage, she owned it, then stripped it bare, left only the essentials. Her truth, her tone, and her command. And that's why she made the list, not because she was overwhelmed, but because she outlasted. Patti Smith. And finally, Patti Smith. If Chrissy was quiet, Patti was pure, wild defiance. A spirit that couldn't be tamed, a voice that didn't just perform, it preached. Jagger first saw her take the stage at CBGB. The iconic New York venue was a home for misfits and revolutionaries. But even there, Patti stood out like lightning in a bottle. She walked barefoot. Her hair was tangled. Her face gleamed with sweat. She didn't come to entertain, she came to awaken. From the very first moment, Mick felt something shift. Patti didn't ease into a performance. She attacked it. Every lyric felt urgent, every breath felt like it came straight from the gut. Her songs weren't just music, they were manifestos. She didn't just sing, you felt her. There was something sacred about the way she held herself. Not polished, not perfected, but powerful in a way that made the room feel smaller. As if the walls were bending to her voice, not the other way around. Her presence was unpredictable, like a fuse always about to light. One moment she was whispering a line with shaky tenderness, and the next she was howling into the mic like it was the only way to stay alive. It wasn't chaos, it was honesty, stripped bare. What struck Jagger the most wasn't her technique, it was her truth. She didn't mold herself to fit rock. She forced rock to widen its borders just to include her. She didn't rehearse a role, she became the emotion in every line. One moment she was soaring, the next she was cracking, but every second she was present, fully, painfully, gloriously. She didn't ask you to like it, she asked you to feel it. And Jagger, a man who had performed in front of the biggest crowds in the world, who had shaped pop culture with every move, felt small in her presence. Not in a humiliating way, but in a humbling one. Watching Patti was like watching fire speak. There was something ancient about her rage, something timeless in her poetry. It was more than music. It was a movement. He realized then that greatness doesn't always come from precision or charm. Sometimes it comes from rawness, from daring to stand in front of the world with nothing but your voice and your truth, and letting it all fall where it may. Patti wasn't looking for perfection. She was chasing something deeper, and in doing so, she helped redefine what it meant to be powerful. For Jagger, she wasn't just a performer. She was a moment that stayed with him long after the final note had faded. Looking back, Jagger didn't choose these women just because they had great voices. It was deeper than that. Each one had left something behind, not just on stage, but in his mind. A lesson, a memory, a sense of awe. Janis showed him what it meant to be raw. Stevie taught him the power of restraint. Tina reminded him how to own a room. Chrissy proved that silence could speak louder than screams. And Patti showed him what it meant to believe every single word. None of them fit the mold. They built their own. And that's what stayed with him the most. In a world full of performers, these women didn't perform. They lived their art. Every note came from a place of truth. And for Jagger, that truth changed everything. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't follow in their footsteps. They carved out their own paths and made the world listen. Mick didn't just admire them, he learned from them. Their energy lingered in his own work, not because he copied them, but because he couldn't forget them. They didn't just share stages, they redefined them. Every lyric they sang, every move they made wasn't about pleasing a crowd. It was about unleashing something honest and unforgettable. They weren't legends because they were loud. They were legends because they were real. And Jagger, with all his years of fame and fire, still carried their voices with him like echoes that never faded. So when someone asks Mick Jagger about the voices that shaped him, it's not the ones who topped charts or sold out arenas the fastest. It's the ones who showed him what power really looks like. It's Janis, Stevie, Tina, Chrissy, and Patti, the women who didn't wait for a stage. They took it. Now, we want to hear from you. Which of these rock icons do you think left the deepest mark on music history? Did Jagger miss someone you think deserves a spot on the list? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories from the heart of rock and roll.